Commander Elena Chen stood frozen on the United Space Command bridge as the massive Valkyrie vessel materialized in Earth orbit. Its crystalline hull refracted sunlight across the planet below in dazzling patterns that no human craft had ever produced. The alien ship dwarfed humanity's largest space station by a factor of 10, its very presence a statement of technological superiority. Tactical assessment, Elena demanded, her voice steadier than her heartbeat. Lieutenant Ramirez shook his head in disbelief. Unknown propulsion system. Energy readings off the charts. Weapons capabilities. We can't even identify what we're looking at, Commander. On screens worldwide, humanity watched in collective awe as the first confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence made its presence known. Presidents and prime ministers prepared speeches. Religious leaders sought meaning. Children gazed skyward with wonder. Only Elena noticed how the Valkyrie scanners methodically mapped Earth's defenses with suspicious precision. "They're cataloging our military installations," she muttered, pointing to the data stream. "Those aren't cultural surveys." Admiral Zhou dismissed her concerns with a wave. "First contact protocol, Commander. We welcome our new galactic neighbors with open arms and open minds." 3 days later, Elena stood uncomfortably in her dress uniform at the historic United Nations reception. The Valkyrie ambassador de Thrax towered over the assembled human dignitaries, his iridescent exoskeleton and 4 upper limbs marking him as profoundly alien. When he spoke, translation devices converted his clicking mandibles into smooth, sophisticated English. "The Valkyrie Imperium welcomes Earth as a protectorate," de Thrax announced to thunderous applause. "We bring gifts of knowledge, medicine, and protection." Elena watched as de Thrax presented the UN Secretary-General with a crystalline device no larger than a breadbox. "This medical technology will eliminate cancer, extend human lifespan, and end suffering," the ambassador proclaimed. When the reception line reached Elena, she squared her shoulders. "Ambassador, what does the Imperium expect in return for such generosity?" Thrax's compound eyes flickered. His mandibles clicked in what translated as laughter. "Commander Chen, isn't peaceful cooperation reward enough? Though perhaps access to your unique biological diversity and mineral resources would be a fair exchange between friends." That night, Elena received an urgent call. Her brother David, diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer 6 months earlier, had been selected for the first Valkyrie medical trials. By morning, his tumors had completely disappeared. "It's a miracle, Ellie," David whispered. Color returned to his face for the first time in months. "They saved me when our own doctors couldn't." Elena smiled for her brother's benefit, but a cold dread settled in her stomach. She managed to obtain a blood sample during her visit, smuggling it back to her private lab at Space Command. Under the microscope, the truth revealed itself. Microscopic transmitters floated in David's bloodstream, devices far more sophisticated than simple medical nanobots. They weren't just healing, they were monitoring, reporting, possibly even controlling. While humanity celebrated the Valkyrie's arrival, Elena began connecting disturbing patterns. The Valkyrie only established outposts near strategic military locations. Their cultural exchanges focused suspiciously on Earth's defense capabilities and resource production. Their medical technology, while miraculous, seemed designed to collect human biological data. 1 month after first contact, Elena used her security clearance to access deep space monitoring stations. What she found chilled her to the bone. A massive Valkyrie fleet waiting just beyond Neptune's orbit, hidden from Earth's conventional detection systems. When she brought her findings to the Joint Chiefs, she was placed on administrative leave. "Your paranoia endangers the greatest opportunity in human history," Admiral Zhou reprimanded her. That evening, Elena used David's credentials to access the UN database, where the Valkyries shared their knowledge of other civilizations. What she found was not a record of peaceful cooperation, but a catalog of conquered worlds, their resources systematically depleted, their native species reduced to labor forces. As she downloaded the files, her personal communication device chimed. A message from an anonymous sender contained a single video file. Ambassador Dithrax in his private chambers, speaking to the Valkyrie High Command. The translation was crystal clear. Assessment complete. Resistance minimal. Resource extraction can begin within one planetary rotation. Alina's blood ran cold as Dithrax continued. These humans possess useful adaptability. Their biological components will serve the breeding programs well. Their homeworld contains water reserves and heavy elements in quantities unseen in our previous acquisitions. As for military capability, here, Dithrax made a sound that needed no translation. Dismissive contempt. They celebrate our arrival even as we map their extinction. With shaking hands, Alina contacted the only person who might believe her, Dr. Marcus Wong at MIT, a quantum physicist with security clearance and a healthy skepticism toward the Valkyrie gifts. The medical technology, she began without preamble. Have you analyzed it? I was about to call you, Marcus replied, his voice tense. There's something inside these devices beyond what they've shown us. Alina, I think we're being prepared for something. And whatever it is, it's not friendship. Outside Alina's window, civilians gathered on rooftops to watch the gleaming Valkyrie ships descend toward their newly granted Earth-based embassy locations. Humanity celebrated first contact, unaware that they were welcoming their would-be conquerors with open arms. In orbit, Ambassador Dithrax sent the final confirmation to the waiting fleet. Infiltration successful. Begin Phase 2. Dr. Marcus Wong's hands trembled as he carefully dissected the Valkyrie medical device in his hidden laboratory beneath MIT. 6 months after first contact, the aliens had distributed thousands of these miracle healers worldwide. Marcus had requested one for research purposes, claiming to study its beneficial effects. The truth was far more disturbing. Careful, he warned his assistant, Dr. Samira Patil. The nanobots respond to bioelectric fields. Under the quantum isolation field, the crystalline casing split open to reveal swarms of microscopic machines, far more advanced than anything humans had developed. As they worked, one cluster suddenly activated, moving with alarming speed toward Samira's ungloved hand. Marcus lunged for the quantum containment switch, enveloping the escaped nanobots in a shimmering field. They froze mid-air, inches from Samira's skin. That was no malfunction, Samira whispered, face pale. They targeted me deliberately. 3 hours of intense analysis revealed the truth. The nanobots weren't just medical miracles. Their primary function was genetic mapping and neural interface preparation. They were cataloging human physiology, creating backdoors into human nervous systems. They're not healing us, Marcus realized. They're tagging us, like livestock. Meanwhile, Commander Alina Chen, now stripped of her official duties, but still holding her security credentials, boarded a diplomatic shuttle to the Valkyrie lunar base. She had spent months cultivating a friendship with a junior Valkyrie diplomatic officer, learning enough of their language and customs to pass as a human aide in the diplomatic course. The lunar base sprawled across the Sea of Tranquility, its crystalline structures dwarfing the historic human landing sites. Officially, it served as a cultural exchange center. Alina's stolen schematics suggested otherwise. She slipped away from the diplomatic tour, using stolen access codes to enter restricted areas. What she found in the lower levels turned her blood cold. Massive holding pens designed for beings exactly human-sized, consciousness suppression chambers, and processing facilities with equipment suspiciously resembling slaughterhouse machinery. Most chilling was the massive chamber filled with thousands of stasis pods, each sized for a human child. Alina photographed everything with her concealed quantum dot camera, but as she reached the main genetic laboratory, a voice chittered behind her. "Commander Chen, you are not authorized for this sector." She turned to face the junior Valkyrie officer she cultivated as an information source. His compound eyes registered recognition despite her disguise. "Delegation tour," Alina improvised. "I must have taken a wrong turn." "No human delegation is scheduled today," the officer replied, reaching for his communication device. Alina's training took over. She struck with precision, targeting nerve clusters identified in stolen Valkyrie biological data. The alien collapsed, but not before triggering a silent alarm. Her escape became a heart-pounding chase through the lunar tunnels. 3 Valkyrie security officers pursued her through the labyrinthine base. She evaded capture only by diving into a waste disposal chute, a desperate gamble that left her bruised but alive in a maintenance tunnel leading to the human quarters. She reached the diplomatic shuttle minutes before departure, slipping aboard with the returning human delegation, her stolen data secure. Back on Earth, disturbing patterns emerge. Children began disappearing from communities near Valkyrie cultural centers. Authorities dismissed it as coincidence until the numbers became impossible to ignore. Over 3,000 children vanished globally in a single month, with no demands, no bodies found. Marcus discovered the connection in the nanobots' programming. They contained a tracking mechanism that activated specifically in developing human brains, children's brains, marking certain genetic profiles for collection. They're selecting breeding stock, Alina realized, reviewing his findings. Starting with the most adaptable subjects, children. Government officials refused to acknowledge the mounting evidence. Too many influential people had been cured of terminal diseases by Valkyrie medicine. Too many corporations were profiting from alien technology licensing. Earth's leaders had been compromised by gratitude, greed, or the nanobots themselves. Alina met Marcus in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Boston, one of the few places they believed safe from Valkyrie surveillance. They shared their discoveries: the lunar facility, the nanobot programming, the abductions, building a case that could no longer be denied. The Valkyrie aren't visitors, Alina concluded. They're not even invaders in the traditional sense. We're being harvested. Marcus pulled up satellite imagery on his secure tablet. It gets worse. These aren't cultural centers they're building. The screen showed Valkyrie installations worldwide, each positioned over strategic resources or military sites. What officials had approved as embassies were actually forward operating bases, weapons platforms disguised as cultural exchanges. They're establishing a foothold, Alina realized, preparing for full invasion. As they spoke, a civilian alert sounded on both their devices, a Valkyrie announcement. Ambassador Dithrax appeared on screen, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "The Valkyrie Imperium requests Earth's assistance," he began. "Due to an unfortunate resource depletion in our home systems, we must accelerate our cooperation. We humbly request 30% of Earth's water reserves and mineral rights as membership dues to the Imperium. In exchange, we offer advanced propulsion technology and extended medical care." The announcement continued, detailing the reasonable request for resources that would cripple Earth's ecosystem and economy. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," Marcus whispered. "They think we're too dependent on their technology to refuse." Alina nodded grimly. "And our governments will give them exactly what they want." "While we do what?" "Stand by and watch." Alina's expression hardened as she pulled out a small device, a quantum-encrypted communicator connecting to a network outside official channels. "No," she said, "we've been preparing. There are others like us. Military, scientists, civilians who've seen the truth. We've been gathering resources, developing countermeasures, building our own technology based on what we've learned from them." She activated the communicator, revealing a global network of resistance cells. "The Valkyrie think we're primitive, easily manipulated, and divided," Alina said. "They've studied our technologies but not our history. They don't understand that humans are never more dangerous than when backed into a corner." Overhead, Valkyrie ships delivered massive mining equipment to their growing lunar base, believing their victory already secured, unaware that beneath them, humanity was silently preparing for war. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, In a chamber shielded from electromagnetic surveillance by 2 kilometers of solid rock, representatives from 30 nations gathered around a circular table. The facility had been built during the Cold War and recently reactivated for the most secret summit in human history. General Ashoka Watanabe of Japan's self-defense forces slammed her fist on the table, her normally composed demeanor shattered by fury. "They're hunting our children while we smile and shake their claws," she shouted. 12,000 children missing worldwide, and our governments call it statistical anomalies. The Chinese defense minister nodded grimly. "The Valkyrie have established 16 cultural centers on our soil. Each one sits atop strategic resources or military installations. Similar pattern in Russia," added Colonel Petrov. "They requested access to our northern territories for climate research. Coincidentally, those territories contain our largest freshwater reserves and uranium deposits." Debate raged between those advocating immediate action and those counseling caution. The American representative argued for diplomatic solutions until Elena stepped forward, connecting her secure tablet to the room's projection system. "This isn't about diplomacy," she said quietly. "This is about survival." The footage she displayed, smuggled from the lunar base, silenced every voice in the room. Children in stasis pods, human tissue samples being processed through alien machinery, construction of massive holding facilities designed for thousands of human captives. In the stunned silence that followed, Dr. Marcus Wong spoke. "The Valkyries see us as a resource to be harvested. Our genetics, our labor, our planet. They'd done this before to at least 6 other species. We found records in their databases. So we fight," said the Russian colonel. "We still have nuclear capabilities." Marcus shook his head. "Their shields can withstand impacts far greater than our most powerful weapons. A direct confrontation would be suicide." "Then what do you propose, Doctor?" asked the British Prime Minister. "Surrender." Elena stepped forward again. Operation Trojan Horse. What followed was the most audacious plan in human history. On the surface, humanity would continue to welcome Valkyrie advancements, while underground, a shadow civilization would take shape. Former enemy nations shared military secrets. Scientists worked around the clock reverse engineering Valkyrie technology from the samples Elena and others had smuggled out. Factories retooled in secret to produce components that, individually, seemed innocent but together would form weapons capable of challenging Valkyrie supremacy. In Bangalore, a teenage hacking prodigy named Ravi Sharma became an unexpected hero. Obsessed with Valkyrie communication protocols, he discovered the aliens used a form of quantum encryption that, while advanced, had a fundamental flaw when transmitting between different atmospheric conditions. This discovery allowed humans to begin intercepting and decrypting Valkyrie transmissions. "They don't expect resistance," Ravi explained during a secure video conference. "Their encryption is designed to prevent interception by species at their technological level, not below it. They've become blind to simpler solutions." Elena established a civilian fleet disguised as ordinary vessels, fishing boats, cargo ships, private yachts, each harboring devastating weapons based on reverse-engineered Valkyrie technology. Mining operations on asteroids, officially part of resource-sharing agreements with the Valkyrie, secretly constructed massive warships within hollowed-out space rocks. The most heartbreaking decision came when world leaders realized they must maintain normalcy, allowing some abductions to continue rather than alert the Valkyrie to human awareness. "If we save everyone, they'll know we're onto them," Elena argued, hating every word. "We need time to prepare." Marcus developed a method to neutralize the nanobots in human bloodstreams, but they could only protect key personnel without revealing their knowledge. Every protected human represented a terrible choice. This person saved, others sacrificed for the greater plan. 3 months into Operation Trojan Horse, the Valkyrie demanded access to Earth's uranium deposits for cultural research. The United Nations Security Council debated briefly before granting permission, their public agreement masking the activation of shadow protocols. As Valkyrie mining operations began in Australia's outback, human engineers secretly diverted 10% of the extracted materials to hidden facilities, where Marcus Wong's team used them to develop quantum disruptors, weapons designed to interfere with Valkyrie shield technology. Their shields operate on a phase shift principle, Marcus explained to Elena during a rare moment of rest in his underground laboratory. They're impenetrable to conventional weapons, but vulnerable to precisely calibrated quantum disruption. Elena studied the prototype, a device no larger than a briefcase. Will it work? In theory, Marcus admitted. We can't exactly test it without alerting them. We'll find out soon enough, Elena said grimly. 6 months into the operation, a breakthrough. Dr. Aisha Okafor, a Nigerian xenobiologist, discovered that Valkyrie neural systems were vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. This led to the development of neural disruptors that could incapacitate Valkyrie soldiers without harming humans. Meanwhile, Earth's space agencies publicly scaled back operations, citing budget constraints. In reality, they transferred resources to secret facilities on the far side of the Moon, in the asteroid belt, and in the outer solar system. These locations became construction sites for humanity's real space fleet. The most ambitious project took shape on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. There, shielded from Valkyrie sensors by the dense atmosphere, Dr. Okafor led the development of the Phoenix vessels. Massive, self-sufficient colony ships designed to carry thousands of humans to distant star systems if Earth fell. The plan had 3 phases: resistance, evacuation, and retaliation. If Earth could not be defended, humanity would survive elsewhere, preserving their civilization and eventually returning to reclaim their homeworld. 1 year after first contact, Ambassador Dithrax addressed the United Nations again, his mandibles clicking in what the translation software rendered as benevolent concern. The Valkyrie Imperium has analyzed Earth's resource distribution and found it inefficient, he announced. To optimize your development as a protectorate, we will begin relocating human populations to more productive regions. The UN Secretary-General, one of the few world leaders aware of Operation Trojan Horse, performed his role perfectly, expressing gratitude for Valkyrie wisdom while requesting time to prepare his people for this transition. Of course, Dithrax agreed magnanimously. You have 1 standard rotation of your planet. Preparations will begin immediately thereafter. That night, in secure facilities worldwide, humanity's leaders activated the final countdown. The Valkyrie had just announced their invasion timeline, unaware that humans had been preparing for this moment since they arrived. As Valkyrie ships positioned themselves in strategic orbits, 8 asteroids secretly converted into massive warships began moving toward Earth, powered by engines reverse-engineered from Valkyrie technology. The U.S. Defiance, Elena's flagship constructed inside a hollowed-out oil tanker in the Atlantic, prepared for launch. All stations report ready, Commander, her communications officer reported. Elena looked at the tactical display showing Valkyrie positions. Their ships had moved exactly where predicted, their arrogance making them predictable. Send the final authorization, she ordered. All units initiate countdown. We'll allow them to strike first, then execute Operation Trojan Horse. Across the planet, and throughout the solar system, humanity prepared for war against an enemy that still believed them primitive, compliant prey. Dawn broke over a quiet Earth. Children walked to school, workers commuted to jobs, and the rhythm of human civilization continued its steady beat, perhaps the last normal morning humanity would know. At 600 UTC, without warning or declaration, Valkyrie weapons fired from orbit. Green-blue energy beams lanced from their ships, vaporizing military bases and defense installations worldwide in precisely coordinated strikes. NATO headquarters disappeared in a flash of light. China's missile facilities crumbled into ash. Russia's northern fleet boiled in suddenly superheated waters. Cities burned. Strategic targets, power plants, communications hubs, transportation centers vanished in rapid succession. Conventional military responses were neutralized before they could deploy. Nuclear launch facilities were the first targets eliminated, preventing even a desperate counterstrike. Millions died in the first hour. At 6:30 UTC, Ambassador de Thrax broadcast on all frequencies, his message overriding every communication system on the planet. His translator converted clicking mandibles into smooth, reasonable tones. "People of Earth," he began, "your species has been found unsuitable for protectorate status. Your governments refused our reasonable resource requests and have been dissolved. The Valkyrie Imperium now assumes direct control of this world. Resistance is both futile and unnecessary. Surrender yourselves at the designated processing centers for evaluation and assignment. Those with valuable genetic or physical traits will be preserved. All others will be humanely processed." The message repeated in 27 languages, its clinical euphemisms thinly veiling genocide. Admiral Zhao, who had dismissed Alina's warnings months earlier, watched from the ruins of Pacific Command as Valkyrie shuttles descended toward civilian population centers. His last communication before a precision strike eliminated his bunker was simple. Chen was right. God forgive us. In the United Nations General Assembly, diplomats cowered as Valkyrie soldiers materialized through quantum teleportation fields. The Secretary General, following the Trojan Horse protocols, stood before the alien troops and formally surrendered Earth to the Valkyrie Imperium, his words broadcast globally. Thrax's mandibles clicked in victory as he addressed his high command. "Resistance has collapsed faster than projected. Begin full resource extraction." Then, exactly 60 minutes after the first attack, 700 UTC, the Secretary General glanced at his watch and added 6 unauthorized words to his surrender speech. "We will see you in hell." At that precise moment, the U.S. Defiance, Alina's flagship constructed inside a hollowed-out oil tanker, rose from the Atlantic Ocean trailing sea spray. Across the globe, humanity's hidden defenses activated simultaneously. Orbital platforms disguised as communications satellites revealed plasma cannons. Commercial airliners transformed into fighters. From underground bunkers, quantum disruption weapons, reverse-engineered from Valkyrie medical technology, targeted alien shields. On the Defiance's bridge, Alina watched as her tactical display blossomed with green indicators, human assets revealing themselves worldwide. "All units report operational," her communications officer announced. "Quantum disruption grid at full capacity." "Execute Phase 1, Alina ordered. "Disrupt their shields, then target propulsion systems. Remember, we need their ships intact for study." The quantum disruptors, designed by Marcus Wong's team, fired synchronized pulses that resonated with the phase shift frequency of Valkyrie shields. What the aliens had believed impenetrable suddenly flickered and failed. In low Earth orbit, human weapons fire struck exposed Valkyrie hulls. The crystalline vessels, elegant in their construction, proved surprisingly fragile without their shield technology. They shattered like glass under concentrated attack, raining glittering debris into the atmosphere. Thrax's voice cut through the command channel, his translator unable to mask his shock. "Impossible. Your weapons are primitive." "Not anymore," Alina responded. "We've been learning from you." The space around Earth became a graveyard of crystalline ship fragments as the Valkyries' assumed easy victory transformed into chaos. Their tactical doctrine, evolved for combat against technologically equal opponents, had no contingencies for primitive species wielding advanced weapons. Human forces suffered heavy casualties. The price of their deception was limited defensive preparation, but the surprise factor proved decisive. For every human ship lost, 3 Valkyrie vessels were disabled or destroyed. On the ground, Valkyrie landing parties found themselves ambushed by civilians wielding neural disruptors. The aliens collapsed, their nervous systems overwhelmed by electromagnetic pulses calibrated to their specific biology. Technology developed from Dr. Okaffer's research. 6 hours into the battle, the Valkyrie command vessel attempted to retreat, preparing to jump to faster-than-light speed where it could summon reinforcements from the Imperium. "They're running," Alina's tactical officer reported, "preparing for quantum jump." "We can't let them escape," Alina decided. "All units, concentrate fire on their propulsion system." Despite concentrated fire, the Valkyrie flagship's secondary shields held. Alina made a decision that would become legend in the annals of human warfare. "Prepare for ramming speed," she ordered. "Commander," her first officer protested. "That's suicide." "Not quite," Alina replied, nodding to Marcus Wong, who stood ready at an experimental console. "Doctor, is your quantum teleportation system operational?" "Theoretical until now," Marcus admitted, "but the principles are sound." Alina addressed her crew through the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, prepare for emergency extraction. If this works, we make history. If it doesn't, it's been an honor." The U.S. Defiance accelerated toward the Valkyrie command vessel, engines pushing beyond safety limits. The distance closed rapidly. 10 kilometers, 5. 1. At 50 meters from impact, Marcus activated the experimental quantum teleportation system. In a flash of blue-white light, every human aboard the Defiance was extracted. Their patterns converted to quantum information and reassembled aboard hidden receiving stations worldwide. The unmanned Defiance struck the Valkyrie command vessel's propulsion system at full speed. The resulting explosion tore through both ships, leaving nothing but debris tumbling through Earth orbit. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Alina rematerialized with her bridge crew, disoriented but alive. Marcus's teleportation had worked. "Status report," she demanded, once she could stand. "Valkyrie command vessel destroyed," her tactical officer confirmed. 87% of their invasion fleet neutralized. Remaining vessels retreating to lunar orbit. "And our losses?" "Heavy, Commander. Approximately 30% of our revealed forces, civilian casualties, in the millions." Alina closed her eyes briefly, honoring the sacrifice, then turned to the communication station. "Open a channel to all remaining Valkyrie vessels. Use their frequency." When the connection was established, Alina delivered humanity's response. "This is Commander Alina Chen of Earth United Defense. Your invasion has failed. Your command structure is destroyed. Retreat beyond our solar system and never return, or face complete annihilation." She paused, then added the words that would echo through human and Valkyrie history. "You brought this war upon yourself." In lunar orbit, the surviving Valkyrie commanders received her message with disbelief. Their intelligence had categorized humans as pre-spacefaring primitives, easily conquered like dozens of species before them. Instead, they faced a foe who had hidden their true capabilities, studied Valkyrie technology, and turned it against its creators. As the broken remnants of the Valkyrie fleet retreated beyond Mars, Supreme Archon Krell received their distress signal at the Imperium's fleet headquarters. His rage at their failure was matched only by his determination to erase the human stain from the galaxy. "Prepare the extermination fleet," he ordered. "No resource extraction, no slaves, just ash." On Earth, as cleanup operations began and the true toll of the invasion emerged, Alina knew the victory was temporary. They had surprised the Valkyrie once. They would not get a second chance. "How long do we have?" she asked Marcus, who was analyzing the retreating Valkyrie vessel's communication patterns. "Based on their quantum transmissions, reinforcements will arrive in 3 months, he replied. "Not a fleet, an armada." Alina nodded grimly. "Then we have 3 months to implement Phase 2, begin the evacuation." 3 months after humanity's surprising victory, Alina Chen stood in the observation dome of Titan Base Alpha, watching Saturn's massive rings through the reinforced viewport. The methane clouds of the moon's dense atmosphere provided perfect camouflage from Valkyrie sensors, one of many hiding places humanity had prepared during the silent months of Operation Trojan Horse. Dr. Aisha Okafor joined her, data tablet in hand. "They're arriving," she said simply. Alina nodded. The quantum entanglement sensors, Technology reverse-engineered from Valkyrie medical devices had detected the promised reinforcements emerging from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter's orbit. How many? Elena asked, her voice steady despite the weight of the question. Aisha's expression remained professional, but her eyes betrayed her fear. Not a fleet. An armada. Over 3,000 vessels. Dreadnoughts, carriers, harvesters. She paused. Planet killers. The counterattack had been anticipated but necessary to implement humanity's real strategy. The victory had never been the point. Time was. Status of the evacuation. Elena asked, turning from the viewport to the holographic display of the solar system. 67% complete, Aisha reported. We've moved approximately 4 billion people to secure locations throughout the system. The rest are either in transit or waiting in the underground arcologies. 4 billion saved, 3 billion still at risk. Numbers too vast to fully comprehend. Yet Elena felt each one as a personal responsibility. On the display, red indicators representing Valkyrie ships moved toward Earth in attack formation. They had learned from their previous defeat, approaching with shields fully powered, weapons primed. They'll begin bombardment within 12 hours, Elena noted. Activate Phase 2 protocols. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden infrastructure shifted to emergency footing. The secret colonies buried beneath the surfaces of Mars, Europa, Ganymede, and dozens of asteroids sealed their entrances. The massive habitats constructed inside hollowed-out comets went dark, their engines cold, drifting in the vastness between planets where no Valkyrie would think to look. As the aliens systematically reduced Earth's surface to ash and molten rock, they hunted for survivors, finding only empty bunkers and abandoned shelters. Humanity had evacuated billions through hastily constructed teleportation nodes, scattering throughout the solar system in locations too numerous to track or destroy simultaneously. The Valkyrie, expecting to find humans cowering underground, instead discovered sophisticated decoys and automated defense systems designed to waste their time and resources. Each abandoned shelter contained quantum-linked explosives that detonated when investigated, taking Valkyrie soldiers with them. Meanwhile, in the massive construction bays hidden inside Titan, the autonomous Phoenix vessels neared completion. These were humanity's ultimate insurance policy. 47 massive ships, each carrying 10,000 humans in stasis, along with genetic samples of Earth's biodiversity, quantum computers containing the sum of human knowledge, and faster-than-light drives reverse-engineered from captured Valkyrie technology. Elena walked through the final Phoenix vessel's stasis chamber, where families prepared for cryogenic sleep. The ship would carry them to a habitable world 17 light-years distant, beyond Valkyrie-controlled space. If all went according to plan, they would awaken to build a new human colony, and eventually return to reclaim their homeworld. Most heartbreaking were the volunteer families boarding, knowing they would emerge generations later around distant stars. Parents who would raise children on worlds nothing like the Earth they'd known. Children who would grow up knowing their homeworld only through historical records and virtual recreations. A young mother cradled her infant as technicians prepared their stasis pods. She looked up as Elena passed. "Will we ever come home?" she asked, the simple question carrying the weight of an entire civilization's fate. Elena knelt beside her. "Your daughter will," she promised. "Or her daughter. However long it takes, humanity will return." The mother nodded, tears streaming down her face, and kissed her baby's forehead before entering the stasis pod. Not everyone would escape. Millions of volunteers remained on Earth, continuing the resistance, keeping the Valkyrie occupied while the evacuation proceeded. Their sacrifice bought time measured in human lives. The Supreme Archon Krell stalked the once grand halls of the United Nations, now his personal command center. 3 years of hunting humans had made him paranoid. The marble floors beneath his clawed feet were cracked and stained. The famous General Assembly chamber had been converted into a processing center where captured humans were evaluated before assignment to labor colonies or genetic harvesting. Another resistance cell eliminated, Supreme Archon, His security chief reported, mandibles clicking in what translated as satisfaction. 17 humans terminated in the ruins of Chicago. Krell's compound eyes flashed with irritation. 17. Our intelligence estimated 43 in that sector. Where are the others? Unknown, Supreme Archon. They seem to disappear. Most humans had been eliminated in the initial bombardment, Earth's surface reduced to a scared wasteland of radiation and ash. Yet small resistance cells continued to harass Valkyrie forces, using the ruined planet as cover, emerging from hidden bunkers to strike, and then vanishing again. After another ambush cost him a supply convoy in what was once called Germany, Krell's patience snapped. He executed his own security chief in frustration, the alien's iridescent blood splattering across strategic maps of Earth. Incompetence, Krell hissed to his assembled officers. Find these vermin or join him. Underground, in what was once the Moscow Metro, Elena Chen met with resistance leaders who had survived years of occupation. Her face was leaner now, scared from a close encounter with Valkyrie pulse weapons. The resistance leaders, former military officers, scientists, and civilian volunteers, gathered around a makeshift holographic table displaying the remnants of Earth's surface. The Valkyrie are getting desperate, Elena noted, highlighting areas of increased enemy activity. They've diverted forces from Mars and Europa to hunt us. Good, said Colonel Petrov, now missing an arm but still commanding Russia's resistance. Our comrades in the outer system need every advantage. Dr. Marcus Wong approached the table. Time had not been kind to him either. His left eye was now a cybernetic replacement, the result of a Valkyrie interrogation he had barely survived. But his mind remained sharp. The virus is ready, he announced, holding up a crystalline data core. I finally perfected the quantum-entangled code that can simultaneously infect all Valkyrie systems. 3 years of study had revealed the Valkyrie's greatest weakness, standardization. Their empire's technology was remarkably uniform, every system built on identical architectural principles to facilitate seamless integration across their conquered worlds. The risk? Elena asked. It must be uploaded directly to a command chip's central core, Marcus replied. No remote transmission. The Valkyrie have improved their firewalls since our first attack. Elena studied the holographic map, focusing on a structure in what had once been Paris. Their primary communication hub, heavily guarded but connected to every Valkyrie ship in the system. The plan formed quickly. The resistance would launch diversionary attacks on Valkyrie water processing facilities worldwide, drawing forces away from the communication hub. Meanwhile, Elena and a small team would infiltrate the facility and upload the virus. Once activated, Marcus explained, it will spread through their quantum network instantly, disabling navigation, weapons, life support, everything. Elena looked at the faces around her, tired, scared, determined. We've lost Earth, she said softly, but we haven't lost humanity. This isn't just about revenge. It's about giving our people throughout the solar system and beyond time to prepare for what comes next. They moved that night. Resistance cells worldwide initiated coordinated strikes on Valkyrie water processing centers. The aliens required massive amounts of Earth's water for their biochemical processes. As planetary alarms sounded, Elena's team infiltrated the communications hub through maintenance tunnels that had once served the Paris sewer system. The first 3 checkpoints fell to their neural disruptors, weapons specifically calibrated to Valkyrie nervous systems. At the 4th, they were detected. What followed was a desperate running battle through the facility's gleaming corridors, Elena's team fighting through waves of Valkyrie guards with grim determination. 2 team members fell in the first exchange, 3 more at a security bulkhead. By the time Elena reached the central core, only she and Marcus remained, both wounded, their neural disruptors depleted. Cover the door, Elena ordered, pressing her bleeding side. I'll upload the virus. Marcus nodded, taking position as Elena connected the crystalline data cord. to the Valkyrie terminal. The alien interface responded to her touch, recognizing the genetic markers she had collected from a dead Valkyrie officer. As the upload began, the massive view screen above the terminal activated. Supreme Archon Krell's face filled the display, his compound eyes reflecting Elena's battered figure. "Commander Chen," he hissed, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "We've been hunting you for a very long time." "Not long enough," Elena replied, checking the upload progress. 30 seconds remaining. "Your resistance is remarkable but futile," Krell continued. "We've conquered dozens of species across hundreds of worlds. Did you truly believe your primitive species could defeat the Imperium?" 20 seconds. "You've lost, human," Krell said, his translator unable to hide the contempt in his voice. "Your planet is ash. Your species is dying. Soon, Earth will be nothing but a mining colony in Valkyrie records." 10 seconds. Elena looked up at the screen, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, but her eyes burned with defiance. "We never played to win," she said quietly. "We played to survive." Before Krell could respond, she triggered the virus. The effect was immediate and system-wide. Throughout Earth orbit, Valkyrie ships suddenly lost power. Defense systems failed. Life support emergency protocols activated. The communication hub's lights flickered and died, emergency illumination casting eerie shadows across the alien technology. On the view screen, Krell's expression changed from contempt to dawning horror as alerts flooded his command center. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Given humanity a fighting chance," Elena replied. "You thought this was about Earth. It never was. It was about buying time." Understanding dawned in Krell's alien features as reports reached him of massive human fleets emerging from hiding throughout the solar system. Ships that had been constructed in secret during the years of occupation. "Impossible," he whispered. "Your technology." "We learned from you," Elena interrupted. "Every piece of Valkyrie technology we captured, we studied. Every genetic sample, every weapon system, every shield generator. You gave us the tools of our revenge." As Valkyrie ships drifted powerless in orbit, human vessels that had hidden in asteroid belts, beneath the clouds of gas giants, and in the shadows of outer moons revealed themselves. They moved with purpose, targeting the disabled Valkyrie fleet with weapons designed specifically to penetrate the aliens' hull materials. Krell watched in disbelief as his extermination fleet, once 3,000 ships strong, was systematically dismantled by what he had dismissed as a defeated species. "You should have finished us when you had the chance," Elena said, her voice growing weaker as blood loss took its toll. "Instead, you gave us time to become something more dangerous than you could imagine." The view screen flickered as Valkyrie systems struggled against the virus. "This isn't over, human," Krell snarled. "The Imperium spans galaxies. We will return with forces beyond your comprehension." Elena smiled, a cold expression that held no joy. "We're counting on it." The screen went dark as the virus completed its work. Elena slumped against the terminal, her strength fading. Marcus rushed to her side, applying emergency medical nanites to her wounds. "Did it work?" she whispered. Marcus checked his secure communicator, which displayed transmissions from human forces throughout the solar system. "It worked," he confirmed. "The Valkyrie fleet is disabled. Our ships are moving to secure Earth orbit." Elena nodded, allowing herself to sink into unconsciousness as medical teams fought to stabilize her condition. Her last thought before darkness claimed her was not of victory, but of the Phoenix vessels, now safely established on distant worlds beyond Valkyrie reach. Humanity's insurance policy against extinction. She had kept her promise to that young mother on Titan. Humanity would return, no matter how many generations it took. Elena Chen awoke in a medical bay aboard the ESS Retribution, a massive warship constructed in secret within the hollowed-out asteroid series during the long years of Earth's occupation. The ship's name reflected humanity's collective sentiment after watching their homeworld burn. Dr. Aisha Okafor stood at her bedside, monitoring her vital signs. "Welcome back, Commander," she said with a tired smile. "You've been unconscious for 3 weeks." Alina's memories returned in fragments. The communications hub, uploading the virus, Krell's face on the view screen as his fleet went dark. "Did we succeed?" she asked, her voice rough from disuse. "Beyond our most optimistic projections," Aisha confirmed. "The virus disabled 97% of Valkyrie technology throughout the solar system. Their remaining forces retreated to their homeworld, but not before we captured significant intelligence." Alina attempted to sit up, wincing as her healing wounds protested. "And Earth?" Aisha's expression softened. "Still there, wounded but not dead. The ecosystem will recover given time. Radiation levels are already decreasing in some regions." A familiar voice came from the doorway. "We've already begun restoration projects in the less damaged areas." Marcus Wong entered, his cybernetic eye glowing softly in the dim light of the medical bay. He looked older but energized, carrying a data tablet with constantly updating information. "The Valkyrie kept detailed records of Earth's original biosphere," he explained. "Ironically, their scientific thoroughness may help us restore what they destroyed." Alina swung her legs over the side of the bed, ignoring Aisha's protests. "Show me our status." Marcus activated a holographic display showing the solar system. Human ships, vessels constructed in hidden facilities throughout the outer planets and asteroids, moved in formation, reclaiming orbital positions around Earth, Mars, and the Jovian moons. "We've liberated all Valkyrie outposts in our system," Marcus explained. "Their prisoners have been freed, including nearly 600,000 humans they hadn't yet processed." Alina studied the display, noting the position of humanity's forces with satisfaction. 3 years of occupation had given them time to build, plan, and prepare. What had seemed like defeat had merely been strategic patience. "What about the Phoenix colonies?" she asked. Aisha smiled genuinely for the first time. "Thriving. We've received quantum entanglement communications from 26 of them. The first generation of Earth-born children are already teaching the first generation of colony-born children about their heritage." Marcus expanded the holographic display to show neighboring star systems. "But that's not all. Dr. Okafor made a discovery while you were recovering." The display shifted to show a star system 30 light-years from Earth. At first glance, it appeared unremarkable. A yellow star with 11 planets, mostly gas giants. Then Alina noticed unusual energy signatures around the third planet. "What am I looking at?" she asked. "The Talaris system," Aisha explained. "Home to a species conquered by the Valkyrie over 70 years ago. According to captured Valkyrie records, the Talari were reduced to slave labor in their own system, mining resources for the Imperium." Alina immediately grasped the strategic implication. "The first of the Valkyrie's conquered worlds accessible to us." Marcus nodded. "And potentially the first allies in our counteroffensive." 1 month later, a fleet of 15 human vessels entered the Talaris system under Alina's command. They had retrofitted captured Valkyrie ships with human technology, creating hybrid vessels that contained the best of both engineering philosophies. The ESS Retribution led the formation, its weapons ready but not armed, a show of strength tempered with restraint. As expected, they encountered a Valkyrie blockade around Talaris Prime, the homeworld of the conquered species. 6 Valkyrie warships moved to intercept, their communication channels broadcasting threats in standard Imperium protocols. "They're ordering us to surrender or be destroyed," Alina's communications officer translated. Alina studied the tactical display. The Valkyrie ships were older models, part of an occupation force rather than a frontline fleet. Their commanders had grown complacent after decades without challenges to their authority. "Target their propulsion systems," Alina ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. We're not here to annihilate. We're here to liberate." The battle lasted less than an hour. Human quantum disruptors, now refined after years of development, shut down Valkyrie shields with surgical precision. Targeted strikes disabled engines and weapon systems without destroying the vessels. As the last Valkyrie ship drifted powerless, Alina broadcast a message to the planet below on all frequencies, using the translation matrix developed from captured Valkyrie records. "People of Talaris Prime," she began. "We are humans from the planet Earth, another world conquered by the Valkyrie Imperium. We have defeated our oppressors and come to offer you the same opportunity. We seek alliance, not dominion." For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then a transmission originated from the planet's surface, not in Valkyrie communication protocols, but in a different format entirely. The message resolved into the image of a being unlike anything humans had encountered before. The Talari were insectoid in appearance, but with a grace and symmetry that spoke of evolutionary paths far different from Earth's arthropods. Their spokesperson had iridescent blue-green carapace and multifaceted eyes that shifted color as they spoke. "Humans of Earth," the Talari representative began, their words translated through the matrix. "The Valkyrie told us they had cleansed your world of all life. They have told many lies over the generations of our enslavement." Alina smiled grimly. "They tried to cleanse our world. They failed. And now we're taking the fight to them." When human forces landed on Talaris Prime, they discovered something remarkable. The Valkyrie had described the Talari as primitive savages in their records, useful only for physical labor. Instead, they found a sophisticated culture that had maintained their science and history in secret underground libraries and laboratories hidden from their oppressors. "We adapted," explained Sakura, a Talari scientist who had been part of their resistance for decades. "We appeared to be what they expected, simple workers, while preserving our knowledge for future generations." Alina recognized the strategy immediately, just as we did. The Talari resistance leaders revealed that the Valkyrie followed the same pattern with all conquered species: initial diplomatic contact, followed by infiltration, invasion, subjugation, resource extraction, and eventually abandonment once a world was depleted. "There are others," Sakura told Alina during a strategic conference. "5 other worlds within our communication range, all conquered by the Valkyrie within the last century." Human and Talari engineers worked together, combining their technologies in ways neither would have discovered alone. The Talari had developed methods of quantum communication that surpass even the Valkyrie systems, allowing instant coordination across vast distances without detection. Within 6 months, the Liberation Fleet had expanded to include 6 worlds and their indigenous species. On Phyrexia, engineers with 12-fingered hands helped perfect human faster-than-light drive systems. The cephalopoid Mantari shared their advances in biotechnology, enhancing human medical capabilities beyond what had been possible with stolen Valkyrie science. Each liberated species contributed unique knowledge and perspectives to what was quickly becoming the most diverse alliance the galaxy had ever known. They followed humanity not out of gratitude but recognition. Humans had done what none of them had managed alone: unified and fought back effectively against their common oppressor. As the combined fleet grew, intelligence gathered from captured Valkyrie databases revealed the location of the Imperium's homeworld. Valkar, a planet twice the size of Earth orbiting a red giant star 300 light-years distant. In her quarters aboard the Retribution, Alina studied the tactical projections for an assault on the Valkyrie homeworld. The odds were improving but still daunting. The Imperium had conquered hundreds of worlds across dozens of star systems. Their resources seemed limitless. "We need more than superior tactics," she told her war council, composed of representatives from all 7 allied species. "We need a fundamental advantage." "Perhaps we already have one," suggested Axorel, the Phyraxian chief engineer. "The Valkyrie conquered through overwhelming force, but they never adapted. Their technology has remained essentially unchanged for centuries. While we," added Sakura of the Talari, "have all evolved different solutions to survive them." Alina nodded slowly as an idea formed. "And now we can combine those solutions into something the Valkyrie have never encountered. A unified resistance with technological diversity they can't predict." The War Council spent the next 3 days developing a strategy that would leverage the unique strengths of each species. Human quantum disruptors would target Valkyrie shields. Telari stealth technology would mask their approach. Phyrexian hyperspace calculations would allow them to emerge precisely where the Valkyrie least expected them. As the planning session concluded, Alina received an encrypted transmission that brought tears to her eyes. The quantum entanglement communicator, technology that allowed instant communication, regardless of distance, displayed a message from Phoenix Colony Alpha, 17 light-years from Earth. Fleet construction complete. 53 vessels armed and ready, awaiting coordinates for rendezvous. Humanity remembers Earth. The Phoenix colonies, established as survival outposts, had spent the years of Earth's occupation building their own forces in secret. What had begun as a desperate evacuation had become the foundation of humanity's greatest strategic advantage. They had surrounded Valkyrie space, cutting off retreat in all directions. Meanwhile, in his palace on Valkar, Supreme Archon Krell received increasingly disturbing reports of rebellion throughout the outer territories of the Imperium. What had begun as a single defeat on a backwater world called Earth had somehow metastasized into a systemic threat. Impossible, he hissed to his high command. These species were broken generations ago. They lacked the capacity for unified resistance. His intelligence officer, mandibles trembling with fear of execution, presented the latest analysis. The humans are coordinating them. Supreme Archon. They shared their technology, their tactics. Krell's compound eyes narrowed as he finally recognized the true threat. Not the loss of conquered worlds or even the military defeats, but the precedent they set. For the first time in Valkyrie history, their food had learned to bite back. Prepare the home defense fleet, he ordered. This contagion of rebellion ends now. As the combined Liberation Fleet prepared for its final confrontation with the Valkyrie Imperium, Alina addressed the commanders of all 7 species from the Bridge of the Retribution. The Valkyrie believed each of our species too primitive, too divided, too weak to challenge them, she said. They never considered that diversity might be strength, not weakness. That adaptation might triumph over stagnation. That cooperation might overcome domination. She looked at the faces before her, human, Talari, Phyrexian, Mantari, and others. Each evolved on different worlds under different suns, yet united in common purpose. Now we bring that lesson to their homeworld. The combined fleet of 7 liberated species emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation around Valkar, the Valkyrie homeworld. 315 vessels, human, Talari, Phyrexian, Mantari, and others, surrounded the planet in a 3-dimensional grid that prevented escape or reinforcement. On the bridge of the ESS Retribution, Commander Alina Chen stood before the main view screen, taking in her first glimpse of the Imperium's heart. Valkar was larger than Earth, its surface a mosaic of geometric cities and environmental engineering that spoke of thousands of years of technological development. Orbital defense platforms bristled with weapons, and the Valkyrie home fleet moved to defensive positions, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the light of their red giant sun. Impressive, Marcus Wong observed from beside her. They've had centuries to fortify. Alina nodded. And centuries to grow complacent. Open a channel to their high command. The communications officer complied, and after several minutes of negotiation through automated defense protocols, the screen resolved to show a vast chamber within the Imperium's central citadel. Supreme Archon Krell sat upon an elevated throne, surrounded by lesser archons of the Valkyrie High Council. His mandibles clicked in what the translation software identified as contempt. The human insurgent, Krell said, the translator rendering his clicks and whistles into flat, emotionless tones. You've come far from your burning world, Commander Chen. Alina met his compound gaze without flinching. I've come with an offer, Supreme Archon, one you would be wise to consider. The Valkyrie Imperium does not negotiate with lesser species, Krell replied, especially not rebellious food sources. Alina allowed herself a small smile. Then consider this a message rather than a negotiation." She gestured, and the tactical display projected a hologram visible to both sides. It showed the combined fleet surrounding Valkyr, but then expanded to reveal something more. 53 additional formations positioned strategically throughout nearby star systems, each composed of dozens of vessels. "The Phoenix Fleet," Alina explained. "Ships constructed by human colonies established before your invasion of Earth. Colonies your intelligence never detected." Krull's mandibles twitched, but he maintained his imperious demeanor. "A deception. Your species lacks the resources and technology for such a force." "You thought the same about our ability to resist your invasion," Alina countered. "You were wrong then too." She expanded the display further, showing the locations of all 50 Phoenix colonies, now thriving civilizations spread across the galaxy, each with the full technological capability of Earth. They had been established in a spherical formation around Valkyrie space, effectively surrounding the entire Imperium. "We could destroy your homeworld right now," Alina continued. "Your defense grid will fail against our combined technologies. Your fleet is outnumbered. Your colonies are cut off. But that's not why we're here." She paused, allowing the Valkyrie High Council to fully process their strategic situation. For perhaps the first time in their species' history, they faced an enemy who had outmaneuvered them completely. "Instead, I offer 3 choices," Alina said. "First option: surrender. Your leadership will face justice for war crimes against sentient species. Your military will be disbanded. Your empire will be dissolved. But your people will survive, and Valkyr will remain yours." Krull's compound eyes flashed with rage. "And the alternatives?" "Second option: we destroy your defense grid and planetary shield generators, then leave you to the mercies of the species you've oppressed for generations. I imagine the Talari alone have centuries of grievances to address." Alina let that sink in before continuing. "Third option: total war. We've analyzed your psychology, your biology, your society. We know your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities. We've had years to prepare while you dismissed us as vermin. If we choose, the Valkyrie will become extinct within 1 standard year." The chamber fell silent. For the first time, uncertainty registered in the Valkyrie High Council's posture. They had conquered through overwhelming technological superiority and the assumption of their natural right to dominate. Faced with a force that matched and exceeded their capabilities, their doctrine provided no guidance. A junior Archon leaned toward Krell, chittering urgently. Others joined in, creating a cacophony of clicking mandibles as the High Council debated. Alina waited patiently, knowing the psychological impact of their situation was working in her favor. Finally, Krell silenced his council with a sharp gesture. "The Imperium has stood for 10,000 years," he declared. "We will not surrender to primitives. Your species was crawling from oceans when we first traveled between stars. Yet here we are." Alina replied simply. "Evolution doesn't end, Supreme Archon. It continues. You stagnated while we adapted." "We choose war," Krell announced, his translator unable to mask the fury in his voice. "The Valkyrie will never bow to lesser beings." Alina had expected this response. The Valkyrie cultural programming ran too deep for rational surrender, regardless of circumstances. She nodded to Dr. Wong, who activated a small device on his wrist. Across Valkyr, every piece of Valkyrie technology simultaneously shut down. Defense platforms went dark. Planetary shields flickered and failed. Communication systems fell silent. Even the lighting in the High Council chamber dimmed to emergency levels. That was temporary, Alina explained as systems gradually reactivated. A demonstration. The virus we uploaded to your network 3 years ago never left. We've simply kept it dormant, waiting for this moment. The implications were clear. The combined fleet could disable Valkyrie technology at will, rendering their defenses useless. "We could end this now," Alina continued. "But genocide isn't our objective. Unlike you, we don't believe in the extermination of species, no matter how much they may deserve it. She straightened, her voice taking on the formal tone of a prepared address. "So instead, I come with the final message from Earth. The world you tried to conquer, the people you tried to enslave, the planet you attempted to destroy." The view screen behind Elena changed to show images of Earth, not as it had been before the Valkyrie, nor the scared wasteland they had created, but as it was becoming. Green was returning to scorched continents. Oceans were clearing of pollution. Human settlements were being rebuilt, designed in harmony with the healing biosphere. "You brought this war upon yourself," Elena said, echoing the message that had begun humanity's counterattack years earlier. "But we bring this peace upon us all." The offer she presented was not surrender but transformation. The Valkyrie would join a new galactic confederation as equals, not rulers. Their technology would be shared, not hoarded. Their expertise would contribute to collective advancement, not domination. Their conquered worlds would be liberated, their slave species freed. "This is not negotiable," Elena concluded. "It is inevitable. The only variable is how many more Valkyrie die before you accept it." In the stunned silence that followed, a different Valkyrie stepped forward, older than Krell, his exoskeleton bearing the marks of great age. The High Council parted for him with gestures of deference. "I am Elder Archon Vextar," he introduced himself. "I led the Imperium before Krell, and I remember when we were not conquerors but explorers." Vextar's ancient compound eyes studied Elena with an intensity that transcended species barriers. "You could destroy us, yet you offer coexistence. Explain." "Because extinction is the failure of intelligence," Elena replied. "Because diversity creates strength that uniformity cannot match. Because we've seen enough death." Her voice softened slightly. "And because my species remembers being hunted, being at the mercy of stronger predators. We evolved beyond that. Perhaps yours can too." Vextar turned to the High Council, speaking rapidly in the native Valkyrie language that bypassed translation. Debate erupted again, more heated than before. Krell objected vehemently, but other voices rose against him. Finally, Vextar raised a clawed appendage, silencing the chamber. "The High Council will deliberate on your offer, human commander. We request 20 rotations of our world." "You have 6, Elena countered. "Our fleet remains in position until then." After the communication ended, Marcus approached Elena privately. "You think they'll accept?" Elena watched the Valkyrie homeworld rotate beneath them, billions of lives hanging in the balance of a decision made by creatures who had never before faced the possibility of defeat. "They'll accept," she said quietly. "Not because of our threats or our technology, but because we've shown them something they've never encountered in all their conquests." "What's that?" "A predator species that chose not to exterminate when it had the chance. They've built their entire civilization on the assumption that power inevitably leads to domination. We've broken that paradigm." 5 days later, the High Council reconvened. Krell was noticeably absent, reportedly confined to his quarters after an attempted coup against the Elder Archons had failed. Vextar led the session, his ancient dignity a sharp contrast to Krell's aggressive posturing. "The Valkyrie Imperium accepts your terms," he announced. "We will join your confederation as equals. Our conquered worlds will be liberated. Our knowledge will be shared." What followed were weeks of negotiations, establishing frameworks for the transition from Empire to Confederation member. Valkyrie military forces stood down across dozens of star systems. Enslaved populations tasted freedom for the first time in generations. As the surrender documents were signed, Elena transmitted to all species the same message that had begun humanity's counterattack. "You brought this war upon yourself." Then she added, "And we bring this peace upon us all." 1 year later, a transformed Earth hosted the first Galactic Confederation Summit. Representatives from 17 species, the original 7 who had fought the Valkyrie, plus 10 others liberated in the aftermath, gathered in a rebuilt United Nations complex. The final ceremony took place on a hillside outside New Geneva, where a monument had been erected to commemorate both what was lost and what was gained. The obelisk, fashioned from materials contributed by all member worlds, stood against the backdrop of a healing Earth. Elena, now bearing the title of Confederation Ambassador rather than military commander, stood beside representatives of each species, including a Valkyrie delegation led by Vextar. Together, they activated the monument's eternal flame, a symbol of vigilance and memory. As twilight fell, Vextar approached Elena privately. "Your species could have exterminated mine," he observed. "Many believe we deserved it." "Perhaps you did," Elena acknowledged. "But then we would have become what we defeated." "Is that the true message from Earth?" Vextar asked. "Not vengeance, but transformation." Elena looked up at the darkening sky, where the first stars were becoming visible, each potentially home to civilizations waiting to be discovered or liberated. "The message is that strength without wisdom destroys itself," she replied. "You brought war upon yourself through domination. We bring peace through cooperation." She paused. Both were choices. Above them, Confederation ships from a dozen species prepared for their next mission. Not conquest, but exploration and liberation of worlds still suffering under Valkyrie occupation. Earth's scars remained visible from orbit, but new growth covered much of the devastation. Like humanity itself, the planet had been wounded but not destroyed, transformed rather than defeated. The final victory wasn't the defeat of an enemy, but the creation of something that had never existed before. A true galactic community founded not on conquest, but cooperation, not on domination but diversity. That was humanity's true message to the stars.